uh, in southeast London, and as usual, I will have Gregory joining me. So, this is the spiritual discussion program. The aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail Message by Abdushin. And with me now is Gregory. Welcome, Gregory. How are you doing? How has been your week?
Work is still fresh, but busy, and
Easy.
weather is okay, although dark and cold.
Right. So here in London right now, it is also dark and cold, chilly all day long. Um, I think it's overcast. I don't see too much sun today. So welcome, listeners, to the spiritual discussion program. As I said, the aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail Message by Abrushin. And every week we have a new topic for discussion. The topic for tonight is living well with confidence and assurance of a bright future. I'll repeat that: living well with confidence and an assurance of a bright future. You are welcome to join us with any questions or comments by contacting us on our UK number, which is 079 You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 00447939641958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And there's one other way to contact us, which is by going to the website where we are broadcasting. That is blessradio1, that's the number one, .com. If you scroll down on the home page, you'll see a box called Bless Chat. There you can type in any questions or comments. I'm going to begin with, what is the Grail Message? The Grail Message in the Light of Truth by Abdushin is a spiritual knowledge of life. It offers an explanation of the world, a picture of creation on the basis of natural laws. Its lectures contain valuable basic elements as a help in life. For through the knowledge mediated, the reader is again brought closer to life and led back to God. The Grail Message deals with important fundamental questions of life by explaining in a clear and logical way the automatic working of the laws of nature, the whole weaving of creation, allowing every process to be recognized and thereby the purpose of our whole life. It is directed at the individual and speaks to the innate experiences of the human being, their strengths and weaknesses. Thus, every reader has the opportunity to discover through the intuitive perception if what is stated is the truth. Combining with matter-of-fact reasoning, a complete world picture arises, where there is no separation between the visible world and the great world beyond the five senses, nor any separation between scientific and religious striving for knowledge. I'd like to give you a couple of quotes from the author of the Grail Message, Abrushin. The hearer and reader of my lectures should always work within himself, keenly probing and building bridges from one lecture to the other, as well as out into the great and small world happenings. Only then will he be able to understand the Grail message and find that it gradually shapes itself into one complete whole without leaving any gaps. Again and again, in all the happenings, the reader will come back to the basic features. He can explain everything without having to change even one single sentence. The word of the Grail message lives so that it permits only those people who really carry the honest desire in their souls to find abundantly. All else is automatically rejected by it. For the arrogant and those who seek superficially, the message will remain the book with seven seals. And I'd like to give you one more quote from the author. I wish to fill the gaps which have so far always remained unanswered in the souls of men, and which never leave any serious thinker in peace if he earnestly seeks for the truth. So, dear listeners, just to remind you, the topic that we are discussing tonight is living well with confidence and an assurance of a bright future. I'll repeat that: living well with confidence and an assurance of a bright future. You can join in the discussion with any questions or comments by contacting us on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. If you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And there's one other way to contact us, which is by going to the website where we are broadcasting. That is blessradio1, that's the number one.com. If you scroll down on that homepage, you'll see a box called Bless Chat. There you can type in any questions or comments. Gregory, as you know, I like to look up the meaning of the words in the topic in the dictionary. There's quite a few words this time: living well with confidence and an assurance of a bright future. So the first word there is living. And I've got in the dictionary two meanings. The first one, it says an income sufficient to live on or the means of earning it. What do you say about this meaning there, Greg? Is it good for our discussion? Gregory, are you there? I can see you're still online, but somehow there's no sound. Let me see. I'm just going to check. Gregory, I just want to check. Can you hear me? Okay, there seems to be some issue there with connecting to Gregory. I can see he's there, but somehow I'm not hearing him. Let me just try something. Apologies, listeners, for that. I'm just going to see if I can add Gregory back to the call and see if that will make a difference. Hello, Gregory. Somehow I'm not able to hear you. I don't know if I have to call you directly, and that may help to connect you. Okay, according to me, he can hear me. What I'm saying, he's saying he can hear me. Um, okay, so go ahead, Gregory. I just wanted to go through the first word.
Can you hear me?
Yes, now I can hear you. Now, thank you. I'm
Okay.
happy. Yes,
Oh,
yes, I can hear you now.
okay.
Yes.
Sorry.
Right.
Maybe
So let me go
yeah,
back
go on.
again. So
Yes,
Gregory, as I
please.
said, the first word in our topic is called living. And
Yep.
in the dictionary, it gave me two meanings. One of them, the first one, it says an income sufficient to live on or the means of earning it. And I wanted to ask you, how good is this meaning for our discussion?
All right. Well, thanks for that particular question. My response was that it is too narrow.
Okay, so let's go to the second meaning, and then if it's not enough, we will try to, you know, give a good words for us. So the second meaning, it says the pursuit of a lifestyle of a specified of the specified type. I don't know what they mean. So the pursuit of a lifestyle of the specified type. So I guess, well, it's coming. That is coming up. So what do you say about this one?
These are pointers, but they are still too confined. They do not give any intuitive meaning of what living is.
Right. Okay. Do you want me to? You want to say something more on it, or shall we
Well, maybe
continue?
we should exhaust whatever you have there.
Okay. So the next, because they did say they had some qualification with the word living, and the next word I have said in our topic is well. And in the dictionary, again, I have two meanings for the word well, and that is in a good or satisfactory way. That's the first one. What can you say about this one?
Yes, it's usable because it's a good pointer.
Okay. And the second one is for well, the meaning of well, in a thorough manner. How about
These are all qualifiers, which is okay.
right? So this is what we're calling living well. Let me continue. The next one is with. We don't need to really check that one, so I missed that out. And the next keyword is confidence. So they've got again two meanings in the dictionary for that. The first one, the feeling or belief that one can have faith in or rely on someone or something. So let me repeat that. This is the first meaning for the word confident. The feeling or belief that one can have faith in or rely on someone or something. How's that one, Gregory?
In accordance with evidence, such may not be used because one must have, when confidence is mentioned, there must be a framework for that confidence. It's not that you have a scenario where you rely on someone without any evidence, without something to use as a framework. So these are pointers, although they are very poor pointers.
I see. Okay. When you're talking about framework, um, I'm looking at in the way this topic it seems to be talking about life on Earth. So is the framework that we are discussing only the Earth, or is there more than that?
Whether it is life on Earth or otherwise, that framework is always there.
Okay. So at the moment we haven't gone there. Okay, let's continue. Let's continue because there's quite a few words to go through here. So there's another meaning for the word confidence. So let's see what that says. The telling of private matters or secrets with mutual trust. I don't know if that's the one we are talking about tonight, Gregory. So what do you
Well,
say?
that is more of what you read. That's more of a qualifier. It doesn't. It, it's a pointer, but it doesn't give the real meaning of what confidence is.
Yes, but it's not relevant for strictly for what we are talking about in confidence. We are not talking about that type of confidence. So it's with secrets and private matters. It's not about that. So I think we can dismiss that one. Let's continue. The next one is uh, assurance. Yes, assurance. So that one it says again two meanings are given. Used to indicate obligation. Sorry, that's not what I'm reading. I'm sorry, assurance. It's first the meaning given is a positive declaration intended to give confidence, which is like a promise.
That
How
is a
about,
good pointer.
okay, good. And then the next second one, confidence or certainty in one's own abilities. How about this one?
Well, certainty is another good pointer.
Okay, good. And then we continue. The next word is bright. And again, we have two meanings, giving out or reflecting much light, shining. And this,
Yes, that one
okay,
may use that, but again, that is basically tied to physical things that emit light,
yes,
and therefore they are bright.
okay. And there's another meaning. It says intelligent and quick witted.
These are merely qualifiers.
Right, okay. And for me, I mean, I thought thinking of the word bright, I was thinking like a happy, well, something that, yeah, it's bright. It yes, it's light in it, but it's more like a happiness in there. So that's not quite showing there, but not only happiness, but let's say something to look forward to. That's what I think that's what I was going to think of, and but let us continue because the last word in the topic is future, and there we have this meaning given: a period of time following the moment of speaking or writing, regarded as time regarded as as still to come. How about this
Well,
one?
still to come is a very good pointer.
Okay, that's good. So I'm just going to repeat the topic again, listeners, for tonight is living well with confidence and an assurance of a bright future. Now, what I would like to do actually is to go into why we chose this topic. Uh, it came from some report which was in UK about young and old generations, how life is it for them, and especially it was talking about the opportunities and security uh, in terms of job, owning, and the ability of having your own home. And then, with this, continuing with that, um, there was this work suffering illness, or sorry, mental illness and stress in large numbers. The young generation seem to be suffering that in large numbers. Um, this is of today compared to the older generation that is now suffer have experienced in their when they were young. So I hope that makes sense what I'm saying. So some people are, or this report is pointing out that things were better for the older generation when they were young compared to the younger generation now in terms of these jobs and stress and health and opportunities in general. That's what, and that's in terms of numbers. The more people are suffering, younger people are suffering nowadays than it has happened in the past, maybe 20, 30, 40 years ago. Now, so the question comes from that: what is the cause of that? Is it food, diet? Is it lifestyle? You know, attitude? What could be the cause of that? And I shared this, you could say, this thoughts, these thoughts with a fellow. person who helps with the radio show, and he gave a very long response. And I was wondering if I should go to that. He was thinking, in general, I will say that it was not necessarily only the issue is about the younger generation versus the older generation. There's also the society that the changes in society with the well, one of the major ones he was saying is that the wealth is concentrated with the sort of the very wealthy people. He said that 97% of the world's wealth is controlled by just 3% of the population. So there's a wealth. This is a very imbalanced wealth distribution, and can cause a lot of perpetuates inequality. That's what he was pointing out. So there's a lot being said there. Now I'm just thinking, Gregory, before I that was this was just to let you know, listeners, how we came up with this topic for tonight, which is living well with confidence and an assurance of a bright future. Because according to this, the young generation is suffering quite seriously in comparison to the young generation of the olden times, 30, 40 years ago. So what I want to ask you, Gregory, how do the people in this world of current times stand in this sort of regard? How do the people of today stand in this current sort of situation?
Well, thanks for this particular question. In the first case, most of these reports are compilations which have not been subjected to any framework as such, but are taken arbitrarily, as one would find that when even living is discussed, it is assumed, basically, that whoever is alive, in this scenario, one is referring to human beings, that whoever is alive, that is living, should be able to receive using the abilities he or she carries within himself or herself, and must make use of that which they have received for their own benefit, and subsequently pass it on to others who, like him or her, are striving to develop their innate qualities. That is what living is. If, however, in the first instance, the individual is unable to perceive the gifts or unable to use his or her talents aright in such a way that it will bring it benefit, and then subsequently benefit to others, then that particular individual will stand as if he's in a quagmire, unable to move forward or backwards. That basically is the cause of the type of feeling that has been described. For strictly speaking, those ones that you described in scenarios if taken seriously, are not even alive, for they have accepted or they have rejected that which should be of benefit to them. Many just wish to remain idle. Ask them, how much have they been able to receive in their environment? What have they done with that which they have received, no matter how small it is? Did they share the proceeds with others who, like them, are striving to cultivate their own skills? It is that imbalance that has precipitated the wrongdoings and the lack of satisfaction of those who complain about it. Because the wrong attitude comes first. That wrong attitude that considers that others who, like them, are struggling owe him or her a living. From there, one can already see the cause of the problem.
Thanks a lot, Gregory, for this answer and, how can I say, the way you have looked at this situation. The first thing I was getting when you were talking was that but maybe I misunderstood you. So are we, or we should not be comparing with one person's situation with another person's situation? Here we were looking at the young versus the old in quotes. But I think you are pointing to that each person should not, no person should be looking at another person's situation. Rather, they should focus on what they have. Am I right there?
That is part of it. First, make use of that which you have received. Make use of it diligently and let it come to fruition. Whatever the challenge is, for every challenge is an opportunity to develop those innate skills. But in most cases, it's ignored. And then there's this comparison of the older ones and the younger ones. The scenarios are completely different. The experiences the older ones have gone through was or has been tailored to them. They had to respond to it. The experiences the younger ones are going through are so different. So one cannot start comparing the experiences of the past with the experiences of the present. For the opportunities of the past with the opportunities of the present. The opportunities of the past, those who lived at that time had to adjust themselves. Here, the opportunities of the present, which contain so much, what have they made of it?
Thank you for that answer, Gregory. I've got another follow-on question from what you have just said, even from the first question I asked. So, but before I do ask you that, I just want to let the listeners know that you're listening to Bless Radio, and this is the Tuesday evening spiritual discussion program from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time. The aim of this show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail Message by Abdrushin. If you wish to know more about the Grail Message or want to get a copy of the Grail Message for yourself, you can go to this website, which is www.grailmessage.com. Message.com. I'll spell that www.grail, Grail, message, MESSAGE.com. And the topic that we are discussing tonight is living well with confidence and an assurance of a bright future. Living well with confidence and an assurance of a bright future. You can join in the discussion with any questions or comments by contacting us on our website, which is where we are broadcast. Sorry, let me give you the phone number first. So you can join in the discussion with any questions or comments by contacting us on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And the other way you can contact us is by going to the website where we are broadcasting, that is Bless Radio 1, that's the number 1.com. If you scroll down on the home page, you will see a box called Bless Chat. There you can type in any questions or comments. And as I mentioned, we are broadcasting on Bless Radio 1, the number 1.com. You can also listen to us on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1, that's the number 1 there, space live stream. This is for the live show, which is on Tuesday evenings, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time. You can also listen to the recording of this show the next day, also on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1, the number 1 there again, space Grail Message, space the topic of the show, which tonight is living well with confidence and an assurance of a bright future. And thirdly, you can listen to us on Zeno, that's ZENO.FM/Bless Radio 1. That's the number 1. Now, Gregory, I'm still reflecting on what you have said. We were comparing we're talking about people comparing the life for the young generation today with the current old generation when they lived, when they were younger. There's a lot of, let's say, issues the young are facing, like cost of living crisis, they call it. Well, that's the whole world. But there seem to be, it appears, more difficult life for the younger generation of today than the people in the past had, maybe 30, 40 years ago. So the question arose, is this what's going on there? We have already said we are not really meant to compare one person's life with another person's life. Each person, whatever they're going through, they have to make the most of those opportunities that they have, they are in. One of the motto is live in the present. So that means don't compare what happened in the past. Now, one thing in my head arose, Gregory. Whatever happens today, it's coming from the actions of the past. What you sow, you shall reap. The famous words of Jesus, what you shall sow, you shall reap. So now, if whatever the young generation of today is going through, it looks like they had sowed something to receive that. And similarly, in the past, whoever sowed what they sowed, they're also receiving what they sowed in the past. um, and to bring another factor, which my other friend, a contributor, I'll call his name B, B, who's contributed to the show and even taken my role during the Christmas time. So he had some points about it, that there's something happening in society that is that, so it's not about just the people existing today or in the yester time, but there's that what's happening in the society. So Greggy, can we look at that? What is bringing the situation that we live in today? Is it not from the past actions that has made the society the way, the world that is today?
Of course, past activities contribute to the present scenario. That in itself is a fact. The challenge is, how does the individual respond to a challenge? Therein lies the question. There is a challenge before you. How do you respond to it? Just as those of the past ages responded to their challenges and subsequently, in a gradual manner, led to the present. Now the question is, how do people here and now respond to the current challenges? Unless they respond to these challenges in a manner which is wholesome rather than being one-sided, then subsequently it will lead to further failures in which opportunities will be missed. So the key thing here is, how does the individual or how does the group respond to the current challenges, which partially they themselves must have given rise to, or some of the things which abound in nature, in creation, the streams of power which pass through. The question is, how do we make use of it? If you make use of these in accordance with the laws of motion, work diligently, then at the initial stage, though it will drain your strength because you're trying to put things aright, subsequently, it will put the signposts in place such that many do not have to reinvent the wheel. And therefore, having the signposts in place, they can then move forward confidently because they would have examined the signposts which have been put in place, would have learned the necessary lessons, and therefore built up their confidence as a return for their efforts, and subsequently move forward, putting more better structures in place. So that is partly how it should be.
Thank you so much for that answer there, Gregory. I'm just there's one of these common things again is comparing that the young generation now is a bit soft, not like the resilient like the previous one, and as if something they have lost something, or and And maybe they're also the attitude, they're looking for, in quotes, I say easy life, in the sense of they want to, well, there's a number of issues actually. It could be that they don't want to just work just to survive. They want to, let's say, enjoy and do other things apart from just pure work. So this is, I mean, we commonly call it work-life balance. Not only the, you know, because there's all this impact that comes from, you could say, overworking, stress, your health, welfare there is affected, and maybe the younger people of today are more picky in their attitude of what they're looking for. Maybe in the older generation they were more willing to just get on with work, and whatever hard life it was that came, they just went through it. And the younger one, like I say, are more selective in how they wish to live in their, you could say, enjoying their life. So, Gregory, is there some, I know I'm comparing, uh, and maybe Gregory is true, every generation is a different generation, and maybe it's very silly to even to bother to compare. I just want to look at all these points there. So is there some issue of attitude with the different generation? Is there something about resilience? Yeah, these are the points I would like to look at. And yeah, so can you just look at that, Gregory? Any difference in generate in this way the people are, um, the attitude and the way they wish to live? Is it some difference there between the young and the old?
As a matter of principle, one should not, like rightly said, be comparing the young and the old because these are different phases in life. And the challenges.
Oh, sorry, Gregory. Let me just come in. What I meant was the in the same time. I don't mean young versus the old as such. Sorry. What I mean is what the young people of today compared with the young people of, let's say, 30 years ago. That's what I really mean. So that's what I mean by the older generation, because those people of the 30 years ago are no longer young. So it's
But
we're looking.
again, the
Yes, that's what I
at,
mean.
as at that time, the times, the challenges of that time were suited or were different, which were sort of woven around the abilities, the level of development, the level of maturity. Now, you will find the challenges are also different. What one would stress, or what should be stressed in life generally, whatever one cares to call it, is the response to challenges is dependent on the inner attitude of the individual or the group of individuals. The so-called, I mean, present generation, the younger generation, there is the attitude of cherry picking, only that which will give them pleasure immediately. The long-term goal is not considered. For as we well know, when you have the scenario of a farmer planting, sowing his crops, you will find there are some crops which could be reaped within 3 months, 90 days. There are others which when sown, could be reaped in 6 months or 1 year or much longer. The more sturdy and durable the crop, most likely the longer it will take to mature. For such, patience and perseverance are needed. But for those who wish to cherry pick that which is pleasurable to them, in which that inner exertion is minimal, then before long, they themselves will have to reap that which may not be pleasurable to them. But watch out carefully. When one is referring to cherry picking, in the case, in some scenarios like so-called football, the younger generation are prepared to work so very hard because what spurs them on is so-called fame or the so-called the amount of money which some of these so-called footballers have to earn. But what they have forgotten is that in those scenarios, these footballers have to work so very hard because they know if they don't do that, they will lose their ability to score goals. So they will have to bite the bullet. They will not be cherry picking. Because if you again consider the case of football, you are not going to tell the opponent how to tackle you or how not to tackle you. You will be tackled. If you wish to have scenarios by cherry picking and say, okay, this is the scenario I wish to be engaged in, then you will not go anywhere. You have to go in to experience. Only through personal experience will the individual mature. But in a scenario where they only cherry pick that which suits them, and then when they have real challenges, they buckle. Hothouse plants don't last for long. Should one wish to be a very robust personality, then that individual must go through very, very dire, trying times. And how he responds to these challenges helps to build his personalities in the case of patience, in the case of perseverance. So everyone must strive to be awake, to awaken those inner abilities, those inner features which they carry within themselves, and not start picking scenarios which seem pleasurable to them and help to build them up like hothouse plants.
Thanks a lot, Gregory, for this answer and the picture you're painting there about the attitude of cherry picking and and the consequences from that. Um, we're talking about this work-life balance where a lot of people are suffering this stress and mental illness, um, especially amongst the young with in the larger numbers. It's not that nothing happened in the past. Of course, it happened then in the past. It is also happening. Things are happening now. So there seems to be a decline. This is another pattern, Gregory, that people seem to be picking up. When we talk about opportunities, um, let's say the jobs before they were seemed to be long-term jobs. Some of them people used to even work for life in the same company. That's never that doesn't happen at all anymore. Um, Even the jobs which they call in UK especially, we call it 0 hour contract, which means it's when the employer is ready to need you, that's when you're called to come to work. Not, I know it's a two-way street, uh, and sometimes the employee also can choose to say, okay, if the employer asks me to come, I'm not coming. And then sometimes it's okay, then they will come. So I know it's a two-way street, but we are living this world, as you pointed out, Gregory, of a lot of choice. And you could say if you become too picky, then it's like you will lose something out there. Um, so that sort of, when we think of it this way, Gregory, I can see that, look, the world of yesterday cannot be compared with the world of today. With those things didn't exist in that world, in the old world. They exist now. And yes, even one complaint is, you can say, the income today for that work is less than what it used to be in the past. So there's so much, you could say, negative, um, uh, how can I say, not such a good benefits as they used to be of the past, it seems. And it seems you have to do work harder, let's say longer hours to earn the same as before, and yet everything costing more. So this is what I think is this complaint of this world, um, which I can see. Um, and that's what I can say is making people stressed out, you can say. So my question comes to looking at another aspect we have mentioned already, confidence. Because we're looking for a bright future. Everybody wants a happy, bright future, and it looks like, because there seems to be a decline, um, you can't feel confident about things. You're not even sure you have the job. In the next year, it might be gone. So, how can one, Gregory, can we really say that the future is in our own hands with confidence, or is there something gone missing even? I know I'm saying so many things because I'm just thinking again, I know it's not absolutely right to compare with now with the past, but then you want to know why things have in course gone astray or gone wrong, and you say, okay, what was it that was working before and now it's not working? So I want to ask Gregory, let me ask a different angle on it. Um, have people lost their spiritual sort of path which they had in the past? So it, yes, there was work, and then they had the spiritual faith, you can say, which gave them the confidence, and that in the modern world has declined, this modern in the spiritual faith, and so there's um, um, yes. So is there something there as well, Gregory, where uh, there's been a decline in the spiritual faith, and and then the, how can I say, maybe people are so much focused on material things that that's all they're thinking about, and so they don't have anything else to counterbalance, you know, how to give them happiness.
May I ask what the question is?
Yes, sorry, I put up multiple things in it. So the question is, has there have the people lost spiritual faith, which they used to have more in the past, which would be counterbalancing their material life?
Very simply, the people that you refer to having spiritual faith, that's only was in their personal imagination. For that which is of spirit, manifests itself in deep intuitive feeling. And that which is of spirit is much quicker, much faster than that which is of material. What you yourself will find to have confidence. Confidence is only a reciprocal result of the efforts that has gone into a particular scenario, the right efforts. So if there are returns, you then use those returns as evidence, as consistent evidence. If the evidence is not consistent, you put it aside. If the evidence is consistent, you hold it and you build up confidence. From the first step, then when that step has been fully experienced because you now have confidence, you know, not belief, you are certain, certainty comes in, that if this set of steps are taken, this will be my results. That is a certainty. That's when the individual has engaged in it, gives him or her confidence. That is different. When people talk about faith, what they are referring to is things which have not been examined, things which have not been weighed, and they then plunge themselves forward, expecting results in accordance with their personal wishes, not in accordance with the laws of nature that make it possible for continuity of all that exists, or in accordance with the laws of creation. That has been lacking. Yet they have faith. What they themselves are referring to are blind faith, because they never weighed any. They never examined. They only accepted. How can you ask somebody to accept certain things without even trying them out? Shouldn't you have to try some things out and try to reconstruct to see how it is so that you can learn from it? But to just accept them, that is unhelpful. And because of that lack of personal examination, confidence does not come in. If at best confidence is discussed, it's only in their personal delusion, in their imagination. For when turbulence comes in times, because of their lack of experience on how to handle turbulence, which turbulence is always in nature, as long as there is motion, they buckle. Then the question should be, Where is there, where is the confidence? The faith which they thought they had was only in their imagination, and you cannot use that which you yourself lack to build up. You only use that which you yourself have. You must have this in deeds, or you must have it in thoughts, or have it in one's intuition. That vibration, that intuitive vibration, which harmonizes, which compels one's thoughts to a particular direction in order to experience, which thoughts then compels one's deeds in a particular direction, such that structures are built not only in one's intuition, not only in one's thought, but also in one's deeds. That is what has been lacking, because many only talk about faith, which faith, strictly speaking, in accordance with weighing and examination, they lack. So that has been the root of the problem. Each individual must weigh, must examine whatever challenges it comes through, must weigh in deeds, in thoughts, and in one's intuition. If that path is followed, many a person will now, in their diligence, in their patience and perseverance, many a person will now see that these challenges which have arisen are in fact blessings. But because they have had the wrong attitude, in their laziness, you find that they were seeing it as something else. So it calls for the human personality to be awake. That is the best defense against arbitrary activities.
Thanks very much, Gregory, for this picture you have painted there about, how we are meant to, could say, use our abilities. Faith has to be living, which means, applying, using our abilities. And so one of the abilities you've mentioned there is intuition. That's how we are supposed to, look at this world, with using our intuition. We're meant to be awake, weighing and examining every situation and scenario, not just, in quotes, trusting and relying on some blind faith. That is not living. Because when you are weighing and examining, you're actually looking at it very well, what scenario or situation you're going through, and that's proper experiencing. So thank you for that. We're going to keep discussing this further in a moment. I just want to let the listeners know you're listening to Bless Radio. This is the Tuesday evening spiritual discussion program from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time. The aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail Message by Abdrushin. And if you wish to know more about the Grail Message or want to get a copy of the Grail Message for yourself, you can go to this website, which is www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that www.grail, Grail, message, message.com. And the topic that we're discussing tonight is living well with confidence and an assurance of a bright future. Living well with confidence and assurance of a bright future. You can join in the discussion with any questions or comments by contacting us on our UK number, which is 079 You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 00447939641958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And there's one other way to contact us, which is by going to the website where we are broadcasting. That is blessradio1, that's the number one, .com. If you scroll down, you'll see a box called Bless Chat. There you can type in any questions or comments. And as I've said, we are broadcasting on Bless Radio 1, the number one.com. You can also listen to us on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1, again, the number one there, space live stream. That is for the live show, which is on Tuesday evenings, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time. You can also listen to a recording of this show the next day, again on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1, again the number one there, space Grail Message, space the topic of the show, which tonight is living well with confidence and an assurance of a bright future. And of course, you can listen to the recording of our previous shows also on YouTube. Thirdly, we are broadcasting on Zeno, that's ZENO.FM /Bless Radio 1. That's the number one again. Now, Gregory, it is a spiritual discussion program. So, yes, we are talking about earthly life, living well, we say, and an assurance of a bright future. And we already said that, what you sow, you shall reap. So what you did in the past, you will reap it in the future. So whatever experiences we are going through, it is something from the sowing of the past, you can say, what is bringing our present. And the idea is to have a bright future. That's what everybody is looking forward to. Now, I'm wondering, Gregory, is there a way to guarantee or give assurance of a success? Let me repeat that. Is there a way to guarantee or give assurance of success? Looking for the future here. So can we know that what we are doing will guarantee success?
Of course, there is a way. That way has always been open for those of good and earnest volition, for those who are prepared to persevere and are patient, for those who are always vigilant and alert in the examination of whatever challenges they come across, for those who always weigh in their deeds, in their thoughts, and in their intuitions, for those who comply to such, then the future is bright. Why? Because in their activities, they have eliminated those things which will hold them down as threats, which threats could arise due to negligence or due to the wrongdoings, their personal wrongdoings, due to ignorance. So for those who are awake, who are perpetually weighing and examining the scenarios which accost them, the challenges before them, who weigh and examine in accordance with the laws of nature, in accordance with the laws of creation, for those powers which streams towards them, because the centers for these activities are very well anchored in nature, in life, because of their genuine efforts, they will receive undreamt of help. But if the individual is not daring to make a move, to weigh whatever accosts it, to examine, how can he himself or herself subsequently eliminate all those things which would, along the line, divert his or her attention? So, to be awake is the best method to have for the future, because one is talking of a bright future. If you have your farm where you have sown your crops and you allow weeds to grow amongst the crops you yourself have sown, then they will choke the crops. If, however, you are always taking care of the crops you yourself have planted, crops you have sown, then most likely, with a very high probability, the result will be that the individual will reap a good harvest. The good harvest is what the individual reaps, and in representation gives him happiness, because happiness have arisen in the fulfillment of tasks, in the fulfillment of the opportunities which creation, which nature had made available to you. You have inserted yourself into it and have fulfilled. And in the accomplishment of this task, right, the individual is happy. However, the future is not bright for those who remain idle and hope or demand that the power which has been lent to them for self-development, that power is left to waste. That scenario, they have a very terrible future, a very dull future.
Thanks a lot, Gregory, for giving this explanation. And what's coming to me is that people may have different pictures of what is happiness, success, and some of them they may be looking for that in the earthly life and not, the spiritual life. So there's everything's about how you see things in your according to your perspective, and people are different and have different perspective. And as I say, one man's well, I don't want to say that one. I just want to give a picture which will be clear for everybody. You know, so when somebody talks about, uh, we just talked about guaranteeing, um, living well, an assurance of a bright future. Uh, some may be thinking, oh, in a material way, for example, having a home, a job, and this sort of type of success they might be seeing. And I don't want to use the word becoming rich or millionaire or something like that, but living well in this way. Uh, Almost like Gregory meaning like having an easy life. And so is that, Gregory, uh, is that the right picture of what is living well and successfully and having a bright future? Because how should we see this? As I said, I think people have different ideas what is their successful, because unfortunately we keep comparing, what is with the past. So how can we, I don't want to use the word measure, but how can we have this right concept of a bright future of living happy? Is this happy in terms of material things, or is it just an inner happiness? You know, whatever the situation happens to be, one can has the capability of, you know, how can I say, not getting upset about it if it is difficult, but just being happy in all situations. So sorry, I'm going all over the place there. So let me just rewind and start the question again. So Greg, I'm trying to get a idea of the right concept of living well, basically, which is with a bright future. Is that living well with a bright future? Is that something of material sort of wealth, or some sort of that easy life in that way, or is it something else?
For a change, one will like to pose a very simple question. Who is it that lives well? Is it the inner core of man, which is of spirit, or his physical body as perceived from the outside? Who is it that benefits here and hereafter? If it is only the benefits here and subsequently, like the topics suggested, a brighter future, that bright future may be here on earth, but future is not tied to the earth. It's tied also to those things which are not of the earth. So it is possible for someone to be granted as much, in quotes, money, in which all it then takes is to have a comfortable home, a comfortable life, nothing to, in quotes, jolt it for further activities, which there are many. And to a large extent, the physical health seem okay. Is that what many are expecting as compared to the other scenario in which the spiritual capabilities are brought into the overall picture, in which the individual is able to go through as much turbulence as there are and comes out stronger? These are the questions. For, like the topic suggests, many consider that, oh, an easy life. As many will already see, that which is referred to as an easy life makes the individual go to sleep. And when turbulence comes, it sweeps the individual away because it is not resilient enough. So the individual must judge, must make a decision, because the decision itself is a judgment. That individual must ascertain that which is of benefit to it, not only that which is pleasant. For what you yourself have stressed in the question is basically that which is externally pleasant to the individual. And that was why one had the example of what is most popular, which is football. Does the individual want the scenario where there are no opposing forces, where he or she can just kick the ball into an empty goal, no challenges? Does the individual not need to go through exercises which will strengthen its muscles? Consider, without challenges for the individual, without external challenges, without, challenges in deeds, challenges in thoughts, above all, challenges in one's own intuitions. If one does not grapple with this, what will the future be like? It is inconceivable to consider a scenario where most people are asleep. But it is very true that many are asleep. They are asleep because those talents which they need to awaken, they refuse to bring them into activities. And therefore, when they look or they observe some others who are vigorous in their pursuit, they cry of stress. Where is the stress? This is the so-called world of computers, where you can watch as many stations as you wish to watch. This is a world where there's no famine anymore. The food is there. But for those who take decisions, they decide to keep some of these things away and let it go rotten. So the individual must change his attitude. It talks about stress. What does he know about stress? Because it doesn't want to exert itself. This is stressful, this is stressful. And then when it comes to that which is really stressful, it commits suicide. What is needed is a change of attitude. How does each individual respond to challenges? How? It is that how that builds the character. If the individual responds to challenges in humility, if the individual responds to challenges with vigilance and alertness, many of the things which tend to threaten it as an individual may never arise at all, because in his or her attitude, a solution has already been found. And that being the case, there will be no need for a wrongdoing to precipitate when a wrongdoing has been eliminated, depending on the paths it has taken. But no, many would not follow such. They will prefer to allow the precipitation of wrong attitudes due to indolence or being clever intellectually, where there is no balance, where they can reap the fruits of the labors of others. Actually, what happens is many live in fear. Fear accosts them because they have not exerted themselves in the right way to understand the import of these challenges. As soon as they exert themselves or they are awake to what the import of these challenges are, further challenges will mean something else, because they will have detached themselves from the wrong threads that had accumulated in the past, not only in the recent past, but even in past earth lives. So there has only been one solution: awake.
Thank you, Gregory, for pointing, that how we really should be, looking at these things. And so, yeah, I don't want to say more at this moment, because I just want to let the listeners know you're listening to Bless Radio. This is the Tuesday evening spiritual discussion program from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time. The aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail Message by Abdrushin. If you want to know more about the Grail Message or want to get a copy of the Grail Message for yourself, you can go to this website, which is www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that www.grail, Grail, message, message.com. And the topic that we're discussing tonight is living well with confidence and an assurance of a bright future. Living well with confidence and an assurance of a bright future. If, if you have any questions or comments, you can contact us on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And there's one other way to contact us, which is by going to the website where we are broadcasting. That is Bless Radio 1, that's the number one, .com. And if you scroll down on the homepage there, you'll see a box called Bless Chat. There you can type in any questions or comments. And as I said, we are broadcasting on Bless Radio 1, the number one.com. You can also listen to us on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1, again the number one there, space live stream. That is for the live show, which we broadcast on Tuesday evenings, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time. You can also listen to a recording of this show again on YouTube. That is the next day. So go to youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1, that's the number one again, space Grail Message, space the topic of the show, which tonight is living well with confidence and an assurance of a bright future. And there's another way to listen to us, which is Zeno, that's ZENO.FM/Bless Radio 1. That's the number one again. Now, Gregory, we have understood that life is, we can be in a challenging situation. In a way, life is meant to have challenges because that's how we grow. That's how we develop. Because you are saying, yes, when people are talking about happiness, success, and so on, the idea is we're supposed to develop ourselves and what will benefit us. That's how we're meant to grow. It's not meant, somebody might think, oh, it's an easy life and, having money and whatever else makes life easy. No, the idea is to keep developing and growing. And whatever challenges that give us that opportunity to grow and develop, that is what is for our benefit. This is how we are meant to look at these, you could say, life situation. And yes, you mentioned about stress, that people have maybe wrong idea what is stress, and so on. But there's one thing, Gregory, let's say in some parts of the world or some jobs, people are working 7 days a week and not getting, the right work-life balance, as they say. And then that is stressing their health or having an impact on their health. And what I wanted to look at, Gregory, we know in one of the 10 commandments, it is said thou shalt keep the Sabbath day holy, which people take it to mean the day of rest. So now, how can we apply that, Gregory, in our life? Is it saying, does it mean that we should not work 7 days a week and having the seventh day, as they say, being a holiday? And so, what is meant by that? Having keep the Sabbath day holy, Gregory.
Very good question, and thanks for raising it. The question is, what is the Sabbath day? That is what was not made very clear. To make it very clear, one must ask oneself, how did one incarnate here on earth? How was it like in the beginning? Then one will then find that there had been constant, continuous activities all the while. In these continuous activities, some of it which are external, the external activities are precipitations, or what one may even reframe as materialization of the inner activities. The inner activities have to do with that which is spiritual. Spiritual in the sense that that which is spiritual is of energy. Energy is spirit. And since energy is spirit, it already gives us that picture of perpetual motion. Perpetual motion in spirit. For the individual to be able to draw off the power which is always available in nature, in creation, that individual's intuition must vibrate in harmony. Only when there is resonance between the streams of power in nature, in creation, this resonance between these streams and the intuitions of the individual, only then is the individual able to draw of this power, to make use of it, which will strengthen the spirit, also strengthen the body, and therefore activities can continue to go on. So the spirit should be awake, is always awake. So when a Sabbath day is considered, that becomes a period which had been set aside where one would consider that which is spiritual and minimize that which is external. Minimize, that doesn't mean you should stop, because people still have to at least eat. People still have to exercise. They cannot just sit in one place all day. But there must be a balance between receiving and giving. That period, whether it is 1 day or 2 days or whatever, should not be interrupted. That period is what is referred to as the Sabbath day. What has always happened is that because it is wrongly interpreted, many now consider that on that day, no other thing should be done. One should just keep reading. Of what use is it to read and you yourself do not understand? If you don't understand something, of what benefit is it to the individual? Therefore, each individual must consider that which is of benefit to them. That which is of benefit in this particular scenario is the harmonious interaction between the individual and the streams of power that flow through creation, through nature. One should not do anything which will disturb that harmonious relationship. And in setting aside a particular period, that period of communication may be referred to as a Sabbath day. Not that in a mechanical fashion, one goes around and lives a life which lacks any intuitions. And that is what there is in the majority. And that is why there is always a question, what should we do or not do on the Sabbath day? Now you may go to places and find there's fires all over the place. Will you now say because there is fire, and because there's a Sabbath day and there's fire on that particular day, you will not put out the fire? Is putting out the fire a violation of the Sabbath day? Is attending to someone who is unwell a violation of the Sabbath day? Is ensuring that there is protection for everyone, is that a violation of the Sabbath day? By their works, many reveal how they themselves stand. And the works itself should reveal what people perceive of this Sabbath day. Not, however, that the Sabbath day should reveal them, but they reveal this individual, they reveal their understanding or lack of understanding of what the Ten Commandments, which has been granted them, are.
Thanks a lot, Gregory, for this explanation and picture you painted there about the Sabbath day, what is meant to be, to happen, and how we are meant to act. What you pointed to, the rigid thinking or understanding that people have developed about this commandment is not right in this. You have to live in the real world, as they say, and you have to breathe every day, every minute, every second. So suddenly, the seventh day doesn't of Sabbath doesn't mean you stop doing it. I mean, I know it's common sense; it's automatic anyway, but we still have common sense. You know, you don't use it, you lose that, whatever day it is. So you must apply it in every situation. So thank you for that. Um, Now, you've been mentioning there, Gregory, the intuition and the need for you can say, the body and the spirit to work together, in harmony, because that's the idea. Uh, Life is not about all work or all rest or all play. It's all of these things. And what I was wondering, Gregory, there are, let's say, some people do, in quotes, exercises. For example, um, there's yoga and meditation, and there's even now this modern sort of style, which I'm not quite familiar with, if I'm honest, but they call it Zumba. So all of them, and let's say many others as well, which is the idea is to get your mind and body and spirit working in harmony and in a relaxed, in a calm way, and to keep everything working smoothly, you could say, and so on. Um, So I was wondering, these practices, I've given the example of yoga, meditation, Zumba, even you can say prayer. I mean, prayer is meant to be a bit different, but in any case, because all of them affects us when we do them, for our health, for our well-being, because that's what we are talking about, living well. So my question is there, Gregory, um, are we meant to adopt any one of such practices or a combination of these practices for our well-being, um, or is it not necessary?
The first, when such questions come up, the first impression one should ask first is, what do we mean by work? Or are we referring to external work which is seen by others? What about the activities of the spirit? Is that not work? The activities of one's thoughts, is that not work? Then the external deeds, is that not work? But listening to many, what they refer to as work is that which is external, which are perceivable, right, in deeds. The other ones, thoughts, they cannot perceive it, but the effect of thoughts is understandable. And you find that thoughts are not even classified as work. The same goes to one's intuition. But the intuition is an activity of the spirit, which is then impressed on one's thoughts. And if the thoughts are vibrating aright, which itself is work, then shapes the deeds that man becomes heir to. So whether it be it in spirits or in thoughts or in deeds, this is all work. So why is then that emphasis on work-life balance? That is something which many are unable to provide an answer to. For There is walk in spirit, there is walk in thoughts. It is because you have a narrowing down of the concept of work. And that is why things have been separated. So this is work, this is not work. The individual who is able in its quiet moment to perceive of some vibrations assailing it and scribbles it down, is that not work? The individual who is even in his or her sleep is able to perceive of some pictures or sound and holds it, and whilst awake composes a pieces of music. The basis of that composition which it was able to receive, was it not vibrating along such lines to be able to receive it? That in itself, is that not work? It is because everything has been confused. And that is why you have all these separations. And even that which is now referred to as, okay, yoga, okay, meditation. Of course, these activities are helpful depending on the individual. Why? Because in one way or the other, the individual opens itself. However, it becomes an opening in a one-sided manner, not a real free vibration. For whatever challenge that hits the human spirit is an opportunity for the individual to open up, to try to open up. The individual doesn't need to now go and meditate how to open up. All right, to meditate how to do yoga. All right, to twist itself, to hide underneath a tree trunk for a long time, to contort its muscle. That is far, far away from the right path. Because before long, it becomes rigid. And then things are so interpreted, which does not bring benefit to the individual. However, there are some who are so deep in it that they may learn lessons little by little. What is required to be able to mature is the individual to become a free spirit. Only a free spirit is able to identify, is able to perceive the streams of power that flow through creation, through nature. The other individuals, because they are under pressure intellectually, which is one-sidedly, their attention is diverted. It's as if they have been bound to a particular area. And because of that binding, that which would have been of benefit to them, they let it flow past. They are unable to enjoy the moment. Therefore, people will have to choose first to liberate their spirit, to liberate their spirit is only means to allow the spirits to become very vigilant, not to allow it to become indolent, to be able to perceive of the blessings out there. Once the spirit is astir, is awake, many of the things which it now strives to attain intellectually, it will have received them in all simplicity like a child. Therefore, become like little children. That is the way forward.
Thanks a lot, Gregory, for this answer. I received a message, or text message from a listener, and I know we've come to the end of the show, so I will just read it out. It's not a question, it's, let's say, a comment. Yeah. So, the challenges one faces, and one which causes one to fear, the fear of poverty, the fear of criticism, the fear of success, the fear of ill health, the fear of losing the love of a partner, fear of abandonment, fear of old age, and fear of death. But the antidote is to be courageous and brave. Therefore, be truly alive in the wonderful creation of our God. So this is from a listener. I just thought I would share it with our listeners here. Thank you for that. Now we've come to the end of the show, listeners. Hope you've enjoyed the discussion on the topic of living well with confidence and assurance of a bright future. I just want to read very briefly, if I can read quickly, the
Hello?
Oh, Gregory, apologies. I didn't know I was talking. I have been talking without realizing I wasn't talking. So, Gregory, did you hear some comments from me at all about from a listener?
Yes, from a listener.
Okay. This is about the challenges one which causes.
Yes, we had the comment. You were going to read something, but you never heard that.
I'm sorry. So I don't know how it happened there. We went on mute. Apologies. What I will say, I will just end very briefly from just the very short words from the beginning of the Grail Message, which starts with, "Free yourself from all darkness. He who makes no effort to grasp the word of the Lord aright burdens himself with guilt." And dear listeners, if you wish to find out more about the Grail Message or want to get a copy of the Grail Message for yourself, you can go to this website, which is www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that, www.grail, Grail message, message.com. Gregory, would you like to say anything to the listeners to say goodbye?
Wishing listeners a beautiful week.
Thank you. Same from me. Have a great week, listeners. Have a beautiful week. We'll be back as usual next Tuesday, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time with another topic.